The promise the night was quiet in the small town where Alex lived. The moon was bright, and the stars looked bigger than usual. Alex, a young boy of 12, couldn't sleep. Something in the air felt strange, like the world was holding its breath. Slipped out of bed, careful not to wake his parents. He pulled on his sneakers and crept outside. The air was cool and smelled of grass and earth. He liked the way the night felt, quiet, but full of secrets. There was a forest at the edge of town. Everyone said it was dangerous at night. But Alex didn't believe them. He liked to explore. Tonight, though, he wasn't sure why he was going there. It felt like someone was calling him. As he reached the forest, he noticed a strange blue light coming from between the trees. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. His own heart started to race. What is that? He thought. He walked slowly toward the light, trying not to make a sound. Dry leaves crunched under his feet, and the air felt warmer now. Then he saw her. She was sitting on the ground, leaning against a tree. A girl, but not a normal girl. Her skin was pale with a soft silver glow, and her eyes were big and bright, like two pieces of the moon. She was wearing something that shimmered like water, and her hair floated around her head as if she were underwater. She looked hurt and scared. Alex froze. His first thought was to run, but then she turned her head and looked right at him. "Please, don't go," she said softly. Her voice didn't sound like anything he'd heard before. It was musical, almost like a song. Alex swallowed hard, but took a step closer. "Are you okay?" he asked. The girl shook her head. She was holding her side, and her clothes had a tear in them, with something dark and sticky there. "You're bleeding," he said. "I fell," she whispered. "They are looking for me." Alex glanced around. "Who?" She shook her head again, her eyes full of fear. "Bad people. Hunters." Alex didn't understand, but he didn't want to leave her here. He knelt beside her. "My name's Alex," he said. "What's yours?" She hesitated, then said very softly, "Lyra." He smiled nervously. "Well, Lyra, you shouldn't stay here. If those hunters find you, they'll catch you. Maybe I can help." Her eyes sparkled. She reached out her hand, and Alex felt a little shock when he took it. Her skin was cool and smooth like glass. They sat there for a while. He tried to stop her bleeding by tying his handkerchief around her waist. She watched him closely, like she couldn't believe what he was doing. "You're kind," she whispered. Alex shrugged. "You're different, but not bad." That made her smile, just a little. After some time, the blue light around her grew stronger. She stood up slowly, though she still looked weak. "They won't find me now," she said. Alex looked confused. "Where are you going?" "Home," she said, pointing up at the sky. He followed her gaze and felt his stomach flip. Above them, through the trees, a giant ship hovered silently, its lights glowing softly like a second moon. Alex stared, mouth open. "That's yours?" She nodded. Then, for some reason he couldn't explain, he said, "When you come back, we can play again, right?" Lyra tilted her head. "Maybe, or," he said, trying to sound brave, "maybe, when we grow up, I can marry you or something." He laughed nervously after saying it, but she didn't laugh. Instead, she stepped closer, reached out, and touched his cheek. "Promise?" she asked, her voice serious now. Alex blinked. She was so close he could see tiny stars reflected in her eyes. "Yeah," he said finally. "Promise." She smiled faintly. Then the ship above them sent down a beam of light. She let go of his hand and stepped into it. "Goodbye, Alex," she said. "Goodbye, Lyra," he said back. And just like that, she floated up into the ship and the light faded. The Ship rose higher and higher, until it became just another star in the sky. Alex stood there for a long time, staring up. He wondered if it had all been a dream, but when he touched his cheek, he could still feel the cold spot where her hand had been Dot, and in the quiet forest, he whispered to himself, "I'll keep my promise." Years passed, and Alex grew up. He never told anyone about the night he met her, about the strange girl in the forest, about her silver skin and glowing eyes, about the promise he had made under the stars at first. He thought about her every day. He would lie in bed at night, staring at the sky, waiting for another blue light, waiting for her to come back. But life didn't wait. He went to school. He finished college. He got a job in the city, a boring office job full of numbers and papers and people who never smiled. He stopped visiting the forest. He stopped looking at the stars. After all, it had been more than 10 years. She was probably just a dream, or a story he made up in his mind. He told himself this over and over, until he almost believed it. One evening, Alex was walking home, late from work. The streets were empty. The air was heavy, as if a storm was coming. He loosened his tie and glanced up, and then he stopped. The sky was alive. Above the rooftops, clouds rolled and twisted, glowing faintly with an eerie blue light. Thunder rumbled, but no rain came. Then, in the distance, he saw it. That same strange light, flickering just at the edge of the city. His breath caught in his throat. No, it can't be. But his feet were already moving. He ran through quiet streets, past dark houses, across the park, and out of the city. His lungs burned, but he didn't stop. The forest was darker now than he remembered, taller, wilder. But as soon as he stepped under the trees, the light grew brighter, painting everything in silver and blue. His heart pounded. His hands shook. And then he saw her. At first, he thought it was just the light playing tricks. But no, she was standing there in the same clearing where they had met all those years ago. She was no longer the small, scared girl he remembered. Now she was tall, graceful, terrifyingly beautiful. A woman wrapped in shimmering metal and light. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, and her eyes glowed brighter than the stars. Her presence made the air hum and crackle. Alex froze. She turned slowly, and their eyes met. A strange smile touched her lips, not quite warm, not quite cold. "You kept me waiting," she said softly. Her voice was still musical, but now it carried something sharp underneath. Alex swallowed hard, trying to speak. "Lyra?" She took a step closer, her boots silent on the grass. "You remembered?" "Of course," he sighed. I thought you'd never come back." "I said I would," she replied. Her gaze swept over him, from head to toe. "Though you are smaller than I expected." He let out a nervous laugh, though it didn't feel funny. "And you're not the little girl anymore." "No," she said simply. "I've grown. We both have." They stood in silence for a moment. The forest around them was quiet, but the air felt heavy with something unspoken. Finally, Alex found his voice. "Why are you here?" Lyra's smile deepened, but her eyes stayed serious. "To collect what is mine," she said. Alex blinked. "What? What does that mean?" She tilted her head, studying him. "You made a promise. Do you remember?" His chest tightened. Of course, he remembered. He could still feel the touch of her hand on his cheek. "I was a kid," he said weakly. I didn't know what I was saying, but you said it," she replied, stepping closer. Now she was only a foot away, and he could feel the cold energy that came off her like fog. And we take promises very seriously. He took a shaky breath, searching for words. "So what happens now?" Lyra's smile finally faded. She leaned in, her glowing eyes locking on his. "You come with me." Come with you where? Home, she said. She looked up at the sky, and Alex followed her gaze high above them. Something massive moved through the clouds, a giant ship, its shape hidden in darkness, but outlined by lines of blue light. A low, vibrating hum filled the air. The ground seemed to tremble under his feet. Wait, he said quickly, panic rising in his chest. You can't just take me. I have a life here, a job. People who, she cut in. Her voice was soft, but her words cut like a blade. People who care? People who wait for you? People who love you? He froze. The answer was there, heavy and quiet. She saw it in his eyes. You see? She whispered. You belong with me. Alex shook his head. Lyra, this is crazy. I don't even know you anymore. But you will, she promised, her voice low and strange. You have no idea what you are, Alex. No idea what you mean to me, to my people. But you will learn. You will remember. Before he could answer, the ship above them glowed brighter, and a column of light shot down into the clearing. Lyra reached out her hand. Alex stared at it, at her, at the impossible future waiting above him. His heart raced. His legs felt heavy. And yet he couldn't look away. Take my hand, she said, or the hunters will take you instead. A strange noise came from the forest behind them, a low growl, like metal grinding against stone. Alex turned, and in the darkness he saw shapes moving, tall, thin figures with glowing red eyes, creeping closer. He felt the fear rise in his chest. He turned back to Lyra. She was waiting. Choose, she said simply. The red-eyed hunters were almost here. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and reached for her hand. The alien world light swallowed him whole. Alex felt his feet leave the ground. For a moment, everything was weightless, soundless, like he was floating inside a dream. The world below shrank into nothing, and the only thing he could see was Lyra's face, glowing softly in the blue light. Her hand gripped his tightly, colder than ice, but steady and strong. He wanted to speak, but no words came. Then the light faded, and the ground returned under his feet. Except it wasn't ground anymore. Alex blinked and looked around. He stood inside a vast chamber, larger than any building he had ever seen. The walls shimmered like liquid glass, shifting and glowing with strange symbols that seemed alive. The floor pulsed faintly with light beneath his shoes, as though the ship itself had a heartbeat above him. The ceiling was a dome of stars, but they moved too fast, spinning and bending, as if the whole universe was rushing past them. He stumbled back, dizzy, and hit something solid. He turned and froze. Behind him stood two tall alien figures, each wearing dark armor that seemed to drink in the light around it. Their faces were hidden behind black masks with a single silver line running down the middle. They didn't speak. They didn't move. They simply watched him. Their presence heavy and cold. Lyra stepped in front of them and spoke in a language Alex couldn't understand, a series of soft, echoing sounds that vibrated in his chest. One of the masked figures nodded and stepped aside, revealing a long corridor behind them. Lyra glanced at Alex over her shoulder. Come, she said. He hesitated. Where are we? My ship, she answered simply. But not for long. What do you mean? You'll see. She turned and began walking. After a moment, Alex followed. The corridor was strange. It seemed to stretch and twist, as if it had no true shape. Walls of blue crystal shifted into metal, then into something like stone, then back again. The air smelled faintly sweet, but also sharp, like lightning before a storm. Everywhere they passed, other beings turned to stare at him. Some looked vaguely human, but taller, thinner, their skin pale or shimmering or covered in patterns like stars. Others were nothing like humans at all, creatures of smoke and light, hulking beasts in armor, delicate figures that floated instead of walked. They all stopped and stared as he passed, whispering to each other in low, strange tones. Alex's stomach nodded. Why are they all looking at me? He asked quietly. Lyra didn't answer. Finally, they came to a massive door at the end of the corridor. It opened silently, revealing a circular room. In the center stood a tall platform surrounded by thin columns of light. Lyra led him up the steps and stopped in the middle. Where are we going? Alex asked again. Home, she said softly. She raised her hand, and the columns of light flared to life. Alex gasped as the room dissolved around him. The walls melted into blackness, and suddenly he was looking out. Over an alien world. It was a planet of dark skies and silver oceans, its cities glowing like constellations. Massive towers rose into the clouds, and strange flying creatures darted between them. The ship descended through the clouds, and Alex felt the air change. Warmer now, but charged with energy. The platform landed in what looked like a grand plaza filled with thousands of beings, all watching silently. Lyra turned to him. Welcome, she said. To where? He whispered. She stared at him with those bright eyes. To my world, and to your new home. He shook his head, overwhelmed. This isn't my home. I don't belong here. You do, she said firmly. She reached up and touched his chest with 2 fingers. You are more important than you know, more than they know, more than even I understood. He backed away slightly. What are you talking about? But before she could answer, a deep voice rang out from behind them. Bring him forward. Alex turned and saw a figure sitting on a high throne at the edge of the plaza, a towering being draped in dark robes, its face hidden behind a mask of gold. The crowd parted as 2 armored guards grabbed Alex by the arms and dragged him forward. Hey, let go of me, he shouted, struggling, but their grip was like iron. Lyra followed closely behind, her expression unreadable. The figure on the throne leaned forward. So, it said, its voice like distant thunder. This is the human. Alex glared up at it. What do you want from me? The figure laughed softly, a cold, hollow sound. You, it said, are the answer to a very old question, the key to a very old problem. Alex's blood ran cold. What does that mean? You will find out, the figure replied. If you survive. The crowd murmured at that, their eyes full of something he couldn't name. Hunger? Fear? Respect? The golden figure raised a hand, and the guards shoved Alex to his knees. Let the test begin, it declared. Alex looked up at Lyra, but she only stood there silently, her hands clasped in front of her. He could feel the weight of every single pair of eyes in the plaza, staring at him, waiting, and somewhere deep in the shadows behind the crowd, he saw movement, tall, dark creatures with glowing red eyes slipping closer. He remembered the hunters from the forest. He realized, with a chill, that they had followed him here too. And for the first time. Alex wondered if he had made a terrible mistake taking her hand. The test. The silence in the plaza was heavy, pressing down on Alex like a mountain. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest, but the rest of the world seemed frozen. Thousands of strange eyes staring at him, their whispers hissing through the cold air. Above him, the golden figure on the throne lowered its hand, and then the floor beneath Alex began to move. With a sudden jolt, the platform split apart, and Alex fell through darkness. He hit the ground hard, coughing as dust rose around him. When he looked up, he saw he was in a different place now, a dark pit, surrounded by high walls that glowed faintly with alien runes. The air smelled of ash and metal. A voice boomed above him, shaking the ground. Human, you wish to stay. You claim you belong. Then prove it. Alex scrambled to his feet, glaring up. I never said I. Silence. A voice roared. One of the glowing walls slid open, revealing a second chamber. Lyra appeared there, standing behind a transparent barrier. Her face was calm, but her eyes, there was something sad in them now. Alex, she called softly. He stared at her. Lyra. What is this? The test, she replied. You must pass it, or they won't let you live. What kind of test? But she only shook her head. Let the first trial begin, the thunderous voice declared. The first wall to his left opened, and something stepped out. At first, it looked like a shadow. Then it moved into the light. A creature taller than a man, its body made of black, churning smoke and jagged shards of bone. Red eyes blazed in the darkness of its face, and claws scraped the ground as it approached. Alex stumbled back. You've got to be kidding me. Survive the beast, the voice commanded. The beast lunged at him with an ear-splitting roar. Alex dove to the side, barely missing its claws. The stone floor cracked where it struck. His mind raced. He had no weapons, no armor, no idea how to fight something like this. The beast charged again, faster this time. Alex grabbed a loose rock from the ground and threw it, useless. But it distracted the creature, just long enough for him to roll away again. He spotted a metal rod sticking out of the floor nearby and grabbed it. When the beast came at him again, he jammed the rod into its chest with all his strength. To his shock, the rod pierced the creature's smoky body, and it howled in pain before dissolving into black mist. Alex fell to his knees, gasping for breath. First trial complete, the voice said. Coldly. Lyra S eyes met his from behind the barrier. She didn't smile, but her fingers touched the glass as if she wanted to reach him. Second trial begin. The ground beneath him shifted again, and the walls slid open to reveal a maze of twisting paths. Find your way out before the hunters find you, the voice ordered. Alex S stomach dropped at the word. Hunters. The same red-eyed creatures that chased him through the forest. He ran into the maze, his breath echoing in the narrow corridors. Behind him, the hunter's footsteps clicked and scraped on the stone. He took turns at random, trying to lose them. The walls shifted while he ran, closing and opening passages as though the maze was alive. Once, he turned a corner and came face to face with one of the hunters. Its long fingers reached for his throat, but Alex ducked under its arm and kicked it into the wall. He kept running, ignoring the burning in his legs and lungs. At last, he spotted a faint light ahead. He sprinted toward it and burst out of the maze, just as the walls sealed shut behind him. Second trial complete, the voice announced. Alex dropped to his knees, exhausted. Then the voice spoke again. Final trial, choose. A platform rose from the ground in front of him, with two glowing orbs resting on it, one blue, one red. One will save you, the other will destroy you. But both carry a price. Alex stared at the orbs, confused and afraid. What does that mean? He shouted. Lyra S voice, quiet but clear, came from behind the glass. You have to trust yourself. Only you can choose. He glanced at her. She looked worried now. He looked back at the orbs. The blue one pulsed softly, like her eyes. The red one burned hot and violent. His hands hovered over them. Then he remembered her words from years ago. You are mine. His fingers closed around the blue orb. Light exploded around him. When it faded, Alex was back in the plaza. The crowd was silent. The golden figure leaned forward. He lives, it said. He is worthy. The crowd erupted in strange musical cheers. Lyra stepped forward, her face unreadable. But when she reached him, she whispered, You passed, but the real test is still coming. Alex stared at her, confused and shaken. What does that mean? She didn't answer. Instead, she turned to the golden figure and spoke in her alien language. The figure nodded slowly. And it stood and said, "Prepare him for the claiming. The ceremony begins at dawn." The crowd cheered louder. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't know what the claiming was, but he knew this. Whatever it was, it would change his life forever. And somewhere in the shadows beyond the plaza, he could swear he saw those red eyes watching him again. Waiting. The rival dawn came fast on Lyra's world. A strange sun rose over the silver towers, bathing everything in sharp white light. Alex stood on a high balcony, staring out at the alien city. The air was warm but heavy, full of quiet whispers that drifted up from the plaza below. He still didn't understand what was happening. He didn't know what the claiming meant, but he knew one thing. He was not here as a guest. He was here as something else. Behind him, the door opened. Lyra entered, wearing a long robe that shimmered like water. "You should eat," she said, placing a small plate of glowing fruit on the table. Alex didn't turn. "You're still not telling me the truth, are you?" She was silent for a moment. "The truth would frighten you." "Too late," he muttered. He finally turned to face her. "What is the claiming? Why do they want me here?" Lyra studied him with those strange, bright eyes. "The claiming," she said slowly, "is the bond between you and me, before the people, before the stars." Alex felt a weight settle on his chest. "Like a wedding?" She tilted her head. "Yes, but more, deeper." He shook his head. "Lyra, I don't even know you anymore." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "You will." Later, they led him down to the grand hall. The entire city seemed to be watching as he walked toward the center. Platform. But then, something shifted in the air. A ripple of unease passed through the crowd, and out of the shadows stepped him. Alex's stomach dropped, because the being walking toward them was nothing like the others. He was taller than anyone else there, wrapped in dark silver armor that gleamed like a blade. His face was sharp and cruel, his black hair falling to his shoulders. His eyes, deep red, locked on Alex with pure hatred. The whispers in the crowd grew louder. Lyra stiffened. "Varkas," she murmured. "Who?" Alex asked quietly, but before she could answer, the figure stopped in front of them. "You bring him here?" Varkas sneered. "A weak, fragile human? And you dare call him your chosen?" Alex stared at him. "Excuse me?" Varkas stepped closer, towering over him. "You don't belong here, little human. She was promised to me, and I will not let some lost creature from a dying planet take what is mine." Alex felt a surge of anger, but also fear. "Maybe she decides that," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Vark as laughed, a cold, cruel sound. "She decided nothing. You're just a mistake." He turned to the golden figure on the throne and spoke in their language. Fast, sharp, full of venom. The golden figure nodded slowly, then spoke in a voice that shook the hall. "The challenger has spoken. The claim must be defended." Alex frowned. "What does that mean?" Lyra's eyes flickered. "It means you must fight him." Alex froze. "What?" "If you lose," she said softly, "you die. If you win, you keep me." He stared at her, stunned. "You could have mentioned that earlier." She didn't answer. The hall emptied into a great arena outside. The ground was black stone, scarred from countless battles. Alex stood at one end, his hands shaking as the crowd roared above. At the other end, Varkas stood waiting, holding a long blade that glowed faintly red. The golden figure raised its hand. "Begin." Varkas charged. Alex barely rolled out of the way as the blade sliced into the ground where he'd been standing. He scrambled to his feet, looking around wildly. There was nothing here, no weapons, no cover. Just him and VARK as .VARK grinned. And came at him again. Faster. Alex ducked under the next swing and grabbed a loose piece of stone from the ground. Hurling it at Varkus's face, it hit him squarely, and for the briefest second, Varkus staggered back. Alex ran, not away, but toward the wall, where strange markings glowed faintly. He pressed his hand against them, hoping they might do something. To his shock, a panel opened in the wall, revealing a spear of pale metal. He grabbed it just as Varkus charged again. The two clashed in the center of the arena, Varkus's blade hissing against Alex's spear, sparks flying. "You're weak," Varkus growled, pressing him back. "You don't deserve her." But Alex grit his teeth and shoved forward with all his strength. "Maybe," he spat, "but at least I keep my promises." With one final push, he drove the spear into Varkus's chest. VARK froze, eyes wide, then collapsed to the ground. The crowd was silent. Then they erupted into cheers. Alex stood there, breathing hard, staring down at the defeated warrior. He didn't feel like a winner. He felt hollow. Lyra walked into the arena, her face calm, but her eyes full of something he couldn't read. She stopped in front of him. "You won," she said. He dropped the spear. "What happens now?" She looked up at the golden figure, who nodded once. Then she turned back to Alex and said softly, "Now, they can never take you from me again." She reached out, and this time, she didn't just take his hand. She pressed her forehead to his and whispered something he couldn't understand. The crowd began to chant his name, but somewhere above the noise, Alex thought he heard something else, a faint, distant growl, and the echo of red eyes watching him from the shadows. He had won this battle, but something told him the war was just beginning. The truth arena was empty now. The crowd had left, their chants still echoing faintly in the night air. Varkus's body was gone. The black stone floor still bore the scars of their fight. Alex sat alone on the edge of the platform, staring at his hands. They still shook, even though the battle was over. He didn't feel victorious. He didn't feel like a hero. He just felt tired. Behind him, the doors opened with a quiet hiss. Lyra stepped in, her silver robes trailing behind her. Alex didn't look at her. "Why?" he asked quietly. "Why didn't you tell me?" She didn't answer at first. She walked to the center of the arena and stopped, looking up at the strange stars above them. "You wouldn't have come," she said finally. He let out a hollow laugh. "You're right, I wouldn't have." She turned, her glowing eyes locking on his. "But you did." He stood, finally facing her. "You used me. You pulled me out of my life, threw me into this nightmare, and made me fight for you, for your claim. And I still don't even know what's really going on." Lyra tilted her head slightly. "You know more than you think." "Stop talking in riddles," he snapped. "Just tell me the truth." She stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Fine." She raised her hand, and the air around them shimmered. The arena dissolved into darkness, not empty, but full of faint, moving lights. They stood now inside what looked like a galaxy, stars and planets spinning slowly around them. Lyra began to walk, and Alex followed, confused. "My people," she began, "once ruled thousands of worlds. We were proud. We thought nothing could destroy us." She gestured, and the stars around them seemed to collapse, one by one. But then something came, something ancient, something that hunts and consumes. Alex swallowed. "The hunters?" She nodded. "Yes, the red-eyed ones. They are not just soldiers. They are extinction itself. They devour everything. They leave nothing behind. She stopped walking and turned to face him. We fought them for centuries, but we were losing. Our numbers dwindled. And then we discovered you. Alex frowned. Me? How? Lyra raised her hand again. A small orb of light appeared between them. Inside it, Alex saw himself, as a boy in the forest, reaching out to her for the first time. On that night, she said, her voice softer now, you touched me, and something happened. Something impossible. Your human essence merged with mine. A spark we had never seen before. Your kind, your DNA. It holds something we lost long ago. Alex stared at the glowing image. What does that mean? You, she whispered, are the key to saving my people. You are the bridge between what we were and what we must become. He took a step back. So all this, the claiming, the tests, they're just because you need my DNA? Her eyes flashed. It's not that simple. It was never just about that. When you made that promise to me as a child, you woke something ancient, a bond, something we believed was lost forever. But your humanity brought it back. He shook his head, struggling to process her words. So, you don't really care about me. You just need me. Lyra flinched slightly at that. At first, she admitted, but now I'm not sure. There was silence between them, Dot. Then Alex spoke, his voice low. You should have told me. You wouldn't have understood, she replied. Even now, you don't. He turned away, staring into the endless stars. What happens if I refuse? She was quiet for a long moment. Then my people die, she said finally. And the hunters come for yours next. Suddenly, the air around them grew colder. The lights of the galaxy dimmed, and a dark shadow passed through the stars. Alex froze. What is that? Lyra's face hardened. They're here. He turned to her. The hunters? She nodded, her eyes glowing brighter now. They know you're the key. They'll do anything to take you, or destroy you. As if to answer her, a loud metallic roar shook the space around them. The stars seemed to split open, and red eyes appeared all around, moving closer and closer. Alex's chest tightened with fear. So what do we do? Lyra stepped closer to him, her face deadly serious. We fight. The galaxy dissolved, and they were back in the arena, but now it was no longer empty. Dozens of hunters stood at the edges, their red eyes blazing in the dark. Behind them, the city burned. The towers collapsed one by one under a rain of black fire. Lyra grabbed Alex's hand. This is no longer just my fight, she said fiercely. It's yours, too. He stared at her, then at the approaching hunters. Somewhere deep inside him, something stirred, a memory of his promise. A memory of her silver eyes, looking at him with trust. And he nodded. Then let's finish this. Lyra smiled, the first real smile he had seen from her in years. That's the human I remember. Above them, the sky cracked open, and the largest hunter yet descended, its red eyes like twin suns, its body a storm of shadows and claws. The ground shook as it landed, and its voice thundered through the air. Give him to us. Alex stepped forward, his jaw tight. Come and take me, he said. And in that moment, the hunters charged. The decisioned hunters came like a storm. Red eyes glowing, claws scraping against the black stone. Their shrieks split the air, so loud Alex felt them in his bones. Lyra pulled him back, her other hand glowing with strange light, forming a barrier of shimmering silver between them and the creatures. Stay behind me, she ordered, her voice sharp, but Alex shook his head. No, not this time, he said. She glanced at him, surprised to see the fire in his eyes. The largest hunter, the one that spoke, stepped forward now. Its body was massive, its shape barely solid, made of smoke and blades and glowing veins of red light. "You are nothing," it growled, its voice deeper than thunder. "You are only human. You cannot save them. You cannot save yourself." Alex took a breath, feeling the weight of every choice he'd made crash down on him. He thought of that quiet night in the forest when he was just a boy. He thought of her silver eyes, afraid yet full of hope, when she first asked him to promise. He thought of the tests, the rival, the truth she'd hidden, and the hunters who would never stop Dot. And then, deep down, he realized something. He wasn't just fighting for her. He was fighting for himself, too, for who he was, for what he'd become, for what being human really meant. "You're wrong," Alex said, his voice steady now. "You think being human means weak. It doesn't. It means we don't quit. Even when we're scared, even when we're outmatched, we fight anyway." The great hunter roared in fury, slamming its claws into the ground. Cracks spread through the arena floor. Lyra S barrier began to shatter. Alex turned to her. "You said I was the bridge, then let me do it." Her eyes widened. "You don't know what that means. If you open the bond fully, there's no going back. You'll never be just human again." He stared at her, his choice already made. "Maybe I never was." He reached for her hand. She hesitated. Then she placed her palm against his. The world exploded with light. Pain and power slammed into him at once. He fell to his knees, gasping as silver fire wrapped around his arms and chest, burning but not consuming. He felt her presence inside. His mind now, her memories, her fears, her strength, and she felt his. They stood as one, and the hunters froze, sensing the change. "Impossible," the great hunter hissed, but Alex rose to his feet, silver fire swirling around him. "Not impossible," he said, his voice layered now with something inhuman, just human enough. He stepped forward, and the hunters shrank back. With a wave of his hand, the ground split apart under them, swallowing the smaller ones in a river of light. But the great hunter lunged, its claws raised. Alex met it head on. Their impact shook the entire city. He fought not with brute strength, but with a strange clarity. He could feel its next moves before it made them, like their minds were connected. He ducked, dodged, struck, the silver fire flaring brighter. With every heartbeat. Lyra joined him, striking with her own light. Together, they drove the great hunter back, step by step, until it stumbled to the edge of the platform. "You cannot kill me," it snarled. Alex shook his head. "Maybe not, but I can end this." He and Lyra raised their hands together, their flames merging into a single blinding spear of light. The great hunter roared one last time before they hurled the spear into its chest. The creature's body cracked, split, and then shattered into nothing. The red light extinguished. The silence that followed was deafening. When the dust settled, the plaza was in ruins. But the hunters were gone. Alex stood in the center, breathing hard, his body still glowing. Faintly, the crowd stared in stunned silence. Then one by one, they began to bow. Lyra stood beside him, her expression unreadable at first. But then she smiled, soft, real, full of pride. "You did it," she said. Alex let out a breath and gave a small, tired grin. "We did it." But her smile faded slightly as she looked at him. "You know what comes next, don't you?" He nodded. "I stay." "You can't go back now," she said softly. He glanced up at the stars, at Earth, somewhere out there, far away. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel the pull of home. Because home wasn't Earth anymore. Home was here, standing beside her in the fire and the stars. He looked at her, eyes steady. "I promised you, remember?" She reached out, touching his cheek, just like she had all those years ago in the forest. "And you kept it?" she whispered. He took her hand, always. The golden figure appeared at the edge of the platform, raising its staff high. "The bond is complete," it announced, its voice echoing through the city. "The human has claimed his place among us." The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices rising to the sky. Alex stood there, hand in Lyra's, as the stars above seemed to burn brighter. He wasn't just human anymore, was something more. And as the new sun rose over the horizon, Alex whispered, half to himself, half to her, "Let them come. We're ready." And somewhere, far beyond the stars, the hunters watched, waiting, planning. But Alex smiled, because now he knew who he was. And he would never stop fighting. Not for her, not for himself, not for anyone, because he was human. And that meant he would never break the end.